Imagine stepping onto an Amish farm, a place where the air smells earthy, fresh, and surprisingly free of the usual farm chemicals. The fields stretch wide, flocks of chickens roam freely, and there's a deep sense of calm in the air, as if the place is suspended in a time before vaccines, antibiotics, and endless chemical solutions. Factory farms practically depend on vaccines, chemicals, and endless machinery to keep things running. You might wonder how on earth the Amish manage it without all that. The answer lies in a fascinating mix of traditional wisdom, sharp observation, and a whole lot of hard work. The Amish approach to chicken health is more like a marathon than a sprint. They see health as something built over time from the ground up, literally. For starters, they take soil health very seriously. Healthy soil means healthy plants, and that means healthier chickens in the long run. Instead of using chemical fertilizers, the Amish rely on crop rotations, composting, and natural fertilizers to keep their soil teeming with life. That might sound like a small detail, but it's like the difference between cooking from scratch and microwaving a meal. Soil full of life means plants with more nutrition, and those plants become the natural feed for their chickens. There's no fluff in an Amish chicken's diet. They're eating straight from nature's garden, no artificial fillers required. Some Amish farmers even ferment grains to give chickens a probiotic boost, as if they're running a little kombucha stand for their flock. You might laugh at the idea of a chicken happily pecking at probiotic grains, but those simple choices keep their immune system strong and help fend off common diseases. Stepping back, it's clear the Amish don't leave much to chance. Their entire farm setup is like one giant natural healthcare system. Take their chicken coops, for example. These coops are built with ventilation in mind, letting in plenty of fresh air and sunlight while staying clean and dry. You won't find overcrowded, dimly lit pens here. Amish chickens live in coops that are designed to prevent bacteria from finding a cozy home. And when Amish chickens start to feel under the weather, there's no rush to grab a needle or pill. Instead, they have a host of natural remedies ready. From adding garlic to their drinking water, a known immune booster, to using apple cider vinegar as a natural cleaner and health tonic, they keep things simple but effective. I once tried to beat a cold with garlic tea, and let me tell you, it wasn't the best tasting decision I've made. But the Amish stick to these natural choices, passing these methods down through generations as if they're family recipes. It's a bit like how some people swear by Amish farms are like a secret recipe for clean, organized spaces that feel worlds away from modern farms. There's no rushing around or endless buzz of machinery. Instead, there's a steady rhythm to everything, as if the farm itself has a pulse. Step inside and you'll notice one major thing. Everything is in its place. Coops are tidy, pathways are clear, and the smell, well, it's about as fresh as you can get on a farm. It's no accident either. Amish farmers believe that a clean, well-organized environment is the first line of defense against diseases, especially for chickens, which can be more sensitive to dirty surroundings than we might think. Airflow is also a big deal here. Walk up to an Amish coop and you won't find the usual sealed boxes or stuffy pens. These coops are built to breathe. The Amish make sure that fresh air flows in naturally, allowing chickens to live in a space that's well ventilated and doesn't trap bacteria. Amish coops often have open designs or windows placed just right, letting light and air stream through without drafts. Not only does this setup prevent dampness, a prime environment for bacteria, but it also keeps things feeling natural and airy, a sort of open-plan office for chickens minus the cubicles. In a sense, the Amish have figured out what some modern farmers might overlook. Happy, comfortable chickens are healthier chickens. Chickens raised in such well-ventilated spaces with plenty of natural light are less likely to develop respiratory issues, which can be a big problem in cramped, dark environments. A study even showed that chickens in clean, airy spaces had fewer respiratory problems by almost 40%. That's no small benefit. It's almost as if the farm setup itself is a natural immune booster. And it doesn't end with the coops. The Amish go beyond basic cleanliness with a dedication that some of us would save for spring cleaning. They're not using high-tech vacuums or power washers either. No, it's all about good, old-fashioned elbow grease and smart planning. Every few days, they refresh the bedding, clear out any droppings, and keep things as spotless as possible. Pests like rodents and insects, which can carry diseases, don't stand much of a chance here. Feed is stored carefully, and any waste is composted or removed to avoid attracting unwanted guests. The result is an environment where bacteria and disease find it hard to stick around. It's easy to see the wisdom here. The Amish aren't just cleaning for the sake of appearances, they're creating a home where diseases are far less likely to take root in the first place. It's prevention by design, a simple approach that's both effective and sustainable. And while the rest of us might not have our own chicken coops to clean, there's something to be said for a good, thorough scrub of our own spaces from time to time. The Amish don't mess around when it comes to picking chicken breeds. They've learned over generations that a strong breed is like a sturdy foundation for a house. It just makes everything else easier. While many commercial farms are all about getting the plumpest meat or the highest number of eggs, the Amish take a different route, choosing hardy breeds that can handle both the weather and the germs without needing a pharmacy on standby. These chickens aren't just raised for their productivity. They're chosen for their resilience. It's a bit like picking a car that's built to last, something that won't need a mechanic every 100 miles. Or, in this case, a breed that won't be calling the vet every time the wind blows a bit too hard. The only product we'll ever promote on our channel is a book by Claude Davis, a veteran prepper, about 126 superfoods and preservation methods from crisis times like the Great Depression and wartime that are impossible to find elsewhere. We decided to promote his book because we are the last generation able to share these techniques and superfoods to our children or grandchildren. It would be a shame to see this information about highly nutritious foods and preservation methods to survive crises disappear. You can also find a book about herbal remedies from Nicole Apelian on their store. If you're watching this on TV, you can look up our channel, Frugal Solutions, on your phone or tablet and find the books by clicking the link in our channel description or any other video description. Some of the breeds the Amish tend to favor, like the Rhode Island Red, aren't just tough. They have a natural ability to ward off illness that puts the average chicken to shame. Rhode Island Reds, for instance, are known for their sturdy health and adaptability. They're the farm equivalent of those people who never seem to get sick, even when everyone around them is coming down with something. In a way, these chickens are like the athletes of the poultry world. The Amish let nature do the work by selecting birds that come from strong, healthy lines. It's a natural method of survival of the fittest. No vaccines needed, just good old-fashioned robustness. In contrast, commercial farms typically go for high-yield breeds, designed to produce as much meat or as many eggs as possible in a short span of time. The problem? These chickens often lack the immune resilience that more traditional breeds have. It's the difference between a well-rounded athlete and a bodybuilder who can barely run up the stairs. One is built for durability, the other for a very specific purpose. And just like the difference between a pickup truck and a sports car, the Amish breeds may not be the flashiest, but they're designed to get the job done even in rough conditions. Hardy breeds not only keep the flock stronger, but also reduce the need for intervention. When you have a whole group of chickens that naturally fend off diseases, the chances of an outbreak affecting the entire coop are much lower. And let's be honest, a chicken with a built-in immunity is a whole lot easier to take care of than one that's constantly on the edge of getting sick. When you get right down to it, it's about working smarter, not harder. If you pick a breed that's naturally robust, you're already saving yourself a lot of effort. The Amish might not talk about efficiency the way modern business people do, but they're practicing it in their own way. And if you ask me, I'd rather have a barn full of sturdy Rhode Island Reds than delicate birds that require a feathered version of bubble wrap just to get through the season. It's a reminder that sometimes simplicity and toughness go hand in hand. The Amish understand that no living creature thrives in a cramped space, and that includes chickens. On Amish farms, you won't find chickens cooped up in tiny cages or even confined in small fenced areas. Instead, these birds get a full dose of the great outdoors, spending their days roaming freely around the yard, scratching the earth, and even stretching their wings. Yes, chickens love a good stretch. It's a system that goes beyond just giving them space. It's about respecting their need for movement and the natural perks that come with it. Letting chickens roam freely does more than just make for happy birds. Research shows that free-range chickens are healthier than their confined counterparts, by a lot. In fact, studies indicate that chickens with ample space have up to 50% fewer respiratory issues. They're less stressed too, which might sound trivial, but stress is a huge factor when it comes to animals' health. Think about it. If you were locked in a closet all day, you'd probably start feeling a bit under the weather too. And the Amish figure that if a little more space can keep their chickens healthy, it's worth the extra effort. In contrast, commercial farms often have birds packed so close together that they barely have room to move, let alone graze. This tight confinement makes it easy for diseases to spread like wildfire. And with so many birds sharing the same space, the need for antibiotics goes way up. But the Amish don't see the point in taking those chances, so they let their chickens do what chickens do best: scratch around, forage, and flap their wings once in a while. It's a bit like choosing between running a marathon and standing still all day. It's not hard to guess which one leads to better health in the long run. This open approach also means that chickens can peck around for natural goodies like bugs, seeds, and weeds. This adds variety to their diet and helps them stay physically active, which keeps their immune system strong. It's like a gym and a buffet all in one. No gym membership required, and certainly no monthly fees. Chickens on an Amish farm get to live a life closer to how they would in the wild, which builds up their natural resistance to diseases. Of course, free-range living does come with a few risks. There's always the chance a chicken could wander a little too far, or that a crafty fox could make its way onto the farm. But the Amish see these as natural challenges rather than reasons to lock up their flocks. After all, farm life isn't about eliminating every risk. It's about finding a balance between safety and freedom. And really, if a chicken is going to live its best life, it's going to need more than a few square feet to call its own. For the Amish, it's clear: chickens deserve the right to roam, and in return, they get healthier birds with fewer health problems and a whole lot more personality. When it comes to keeping their chickens healthy, Amish farmers have a few tricks up their sleeves that most modern farms wouldn't dream of. Forget about lab-made tonics and artificial boosters. The Amish turn to natural remedies handed down from one generation to the next, and it's pretty fascinating and sometimes quirky to see what they use. Garlic, for example, is a popular choice. Amish farmers add a few cloves of garlic to their chickens' water as an immune booster. Call it nature's tiny but mighty antibiotic. While garlic water may not sound appetizing to us, chickens don't seem to mind it at all. And hey, if a little garlic keeps the flock safe and healthy, who's complaining? It's like their own homemade chicken health smoothie. But garlic isn't the only item in their natural medicine cabinet. Herbs like oregano and thyme are also trusted friends on Amish farms. Oregano has antibacterial properties, and thyme has a reputation for fighting off infections. So you'll find Amish farmers adding these herbs to their chickens' feed, especially during the colder months. In a way, it's similar to the way we might toss back vitamin C in winter, except these chickens get a little sprinkle of fresh herbs instead. And yes, the Amish have been doing this long before herbal wellness became a trend. It's funny to think that what's now considered a high-end wellness treatment was simply practical knowledge on Amish farms a century ago. Of course, these remedies aren't magic, but they're part of a broader belief that natural solutions, things that have been tested by time, are often the best. Vinegar is another example. The Amish use it not only as a natural disinfectant, but also as a digestive aid for chickens. Apple cider vinegar is often added to chicken water because it supports gut health and balances pH levels, making it harder for harmful bacteria to thrive. Some might say that apple cider vinegar is the ultimate Amish farm staple. And for anyone who's choked down a spoonful of it in the name of health, it's comforting to know that at least the chickens seem to enjoy it. It's impressive how resourceful the Amish are. They don't see the need for expensive chemicals or fancy treatments. Instead, they rely on simple, natural ingredients that they often grow right on their land. It's like a little world of farm-to-table remedies, which means no big pharma and no strange additives. When it comes to cleanliness, the Amish aren't playing around. For them, a chicken coop isn't just a place to toss some feed and hope for the best. It's like the cleanest and busiest hotel you've ever seen. Amish farmers take hygiene very seriously, and it shows, from cup floors that are swept daily to feeding areas that are kept spotless to avoid anything from contamination to little critter invasions. You won't find any rat hotels or spider hideaways here. In fact, these coops look so fresh, it almost feels like you could pull up a chair and stay a while, although that might be taking it a bit far. One of the tricks they use is ensuring everything stays dry. Moisture can lead to bacteria buildup, which can wreak havoc on a flock. The Amish know that a dry environment means fewer respiratory issues, and they achieve this with open, airy coops that allow proper ventilation. That fresh breeze doesn't just keep the air smelling country sweet, it actually keeps the chickens healthier. And if that means placing the coop just so to get that perfect airflow, they're all in. But it's not all about coop location. Regular cleaning is also key. Amish farmers regularly shovel out old bedding and waste, replacing it with fresh materials. While most of us may have a hard time just keeping a kitchen counter clean, the Amish make sure their coops are spotless. I can't help but think of my own feeble attempts at keeping dust at bay. These farmers could give some of us a real lesson in commitment. And they don't just stop with cleaning the coops. Amish farmers go a step further by carefully storing feed and other materials to avoid attracting pests. Instead of high-tech rat traps or automated pest repellents, they rely on good old-fashioned methods, locking up feed bags tight and keeping anything edible off the ground. It's a simple, effective strategy, and it seems to work wonders. Where most farms might have regular visits from rodents, the Amish make sure any curious critters think twice before setting up shop. The Amish take their cleanliness so seriously that it's almost contagious. I once read that keeping a chicken coop clean can reduce the spread of disease by up to 80%. A pretty big incentive, right? It's a level of dedication that goes beyond keeping things tidy. It's a form of prevention in itself, stopping diseases before they even have a chance to start. And they manage all this without high-powered vacuums, pressure washers, or other fancy tools. Just a broom, a shovel, and some serious elbow grease. Seeing the Amish work with such attention to cleanliness and detail makes you think about how something as simple as a well-swept coop can make a real difference. It's a reminder that even though we've got all this tech and convenience, sometimes the simplest methods work best. Plus, those chickens probably appreciate the luxury treatment more than we'll ever know. When it comes to diet, Amish chickens are living the high life as far as poultry cuisine goes. Forget the cheap fillers and processed feeds used in some modern farms. The Amish go straight to quality, using feed that keeps their chickens not only full, but healthy. They're all about clean, nutritious food without the additives, chemicals, or random stuff you can't even pronounce. And if you think your cereal's a little bland without some sugar on top, you'd probably feel the same about the way Amish chickens eat. Wholesome grains and none of the junk. These birds are living what most of us would call the organic lifestyle. Only better because they've got Amish farmers ensuring every meal counts. The Amish also feed their chickens fermented grains, which work like probiotics to improve digestion and boost immunity. That fermentation process might sound like a fancy trick, and let's face it, it kind of is. But the concept is actually pretty simple. By adding fermented grains to their diet, the Amish give their chickens the gut health support they need, letting their natural defenses do the work without needing antibiotics. If you've ever tried kombucha or sauerkraut and noticed how energized your stomach felt, you'll get it. Same idea, different species. The joke here is that these chickens are practically food critics, nibbling on wholesome grains, fermented treats, and even herbs that the Amish sometimes mix in to boost immunity. Can you imagine? Meanwhile, most of us are debating between ramen noodles or a hastily thrown together peanut butter sandwich. These chickens are practically eating better than we are, and they thrive because of it. By focusing on simple, nutrient-dense foods, Amish farmers are putting health first for their flock, with fewer illnesses and stronger birds to show for it. Feeding for immunity is an old-school approach that makes sense. A healthy chicken is a resilient chicken, less likely to get sick and more likely to produce quality eggs and meat. And the proof is in the pudding, or rather, in the feed trough. What the Amish are doing is taking that extra time and care to put real, health-boosting food on the table, giving their chickens a strong foundation from the inside out. Among the secrets that keep Amish chickens clucking away happily is a simple, well-loved household staple, apple cider vinegar. Amish farmers swear by it, adding a splash to their chickens' water as a low-cost yet powerful way to support digestion and overall health. Now, if you're wondering how this kitchen staple turned into a health booster for poultry, it's actually a pretty clever trick. Apple cider vinegar contains acetic acid, which not only kills bacteria, but also promotes a balanced gut. Chickens with healthy guts are less likely to fall ill, and they've got a better chance of fighting off anything nasty that might come their way. It's like giving them a tiny shield with each sip. Apple cider vinegar in chicken water might sound like something fresh from a wellness blog, but the Amish have been doing it long before health fads ever took off. In fact, vinegar's been touted for its benefits as far back as ancient Rome, where soldiers used it to clean wounds and freshen up drinking water. The Amish, however, have taken this ancient wisdom and made it part of their daily care for livestock. And while they're not exactly heading to the local wellness aisle for the organic, small batch stuff, they figured out that even a little can go a long way. When you add a splash to the chicken's water, it lowers the water's pH, creating a less hospitable environment for harmful bacteria. It's a basic concept, but brilliant in its simplicity, just like so many Amish practices. Let's face it, apple cider vinegar seems to be the Swiss Army knife of natural remedies. Got a sore throat? Try vinegar. Need to clean your counter? Vinegar. Want shiny hair? You guessed it, vinegar. And now, the chickens get to join in on this all-purpose trend. In a way, it's a reminder that health doesn't always need complicated solutions. With vinegar on the scene, Amish chickens are more resilient and less prone to the stomach and respiratory issues that sometimes plague other flocks. One clever trick the Amish use in their coops is a powder that sounds like it could come from a sci-fi movie. Diatomaceous earth. Don't let the fancy name fool you, though. This stuff is about as simple and natural as it gets. Made from the fossilized remains of tiny aquatic organisms, diatomaceous earth is the Amish's weapon of choice to keep pests like mites and lice away from their chickens. It's safe for the birds but deadly to tiny intruders, making it an ideal pest control solution without any harsh chemicals. Essentially, it's nature's very own microscopic pest buster, and the Amish apply it in the coops and even in the chickens' dust baths. For the chickens, a little dust bath with diatomaceous earth is like a luxury spa treatment with a built-in bug repellent. Using diatomaceous earth in the coop is like adding a silent security guard against pests. The powder works by damaging the exoskeleton of insects, dehydrating and eventually eliminating them without the use of harsh insecticides. It's funny to think of chickens knowing instinctively how to dust bathe and shake the earth around like pros, spreading it onto every feather and giving lice or mites a rough time if they dare come close. And they seem to enjoy every minute of it. Watching chickens kick up dust and wiggle their feathers to apply their bug repellent is one of those simple farm scenes that makes you realize they know a thing or two about self-care. With diatomaceous earth around, the Amish rarely have to worry about lice or mites taking over the coop, which can lead to stress and, eventually, illness in the flock. And since pests are responsible for spreading disease, keeping them away naturally is one of the easiest and most effective steps Amish farmers take to keep their chickens healthy. Unlike chemical sprays that often leave behind residues, diatomaceous earth is non-toxic and can be used as needed, without risk to the chickens, humans, or even the environment. It's a low-cost, low-effort solution, and the best part? No waiting around for fumes to clear or worrying about contamination. Diatomaceous earth may sound technical, but it's just another example of the Amish preference for natural, safe, and sustainable farming practices, ones that also happen to keep the chickens happy and pest-free. One of the standout practices of Amish farmers is their deep personal connection with their chickens. These farmers don't just raise birds, they develop a relationship with them. It's not unusual for an Amish farmer to know their flock so well that they can detect a hint of illness just by observing a subtle change in behavior. It's like having a sixth sense, but instead of feeling ghosts, they can spot a chicken that's not acting right. You might say they have a cluck radar, allowing them to tune into the little nuances that signal a chicken's well-being. Take, for example, a scenario where a chicken might seem a bit lethargic. The average person might just assume that bird is having a lazy day, but an Amish farmer would think, uh-oh, something's up. They might notice that the chicken isn't scratching around like usual, or perhaps it's hanging out by itself instead of mingling with the flock. Those subtle cues can mean the difference between early intervention and a potential outbreak. I remember a time when my cat was acting a bit off. I sat there debating whether she was just having a cozy day or if she was truly sick. I checked for symptoms like lethargy and loss of appetite, all while wondering if I was just being an overprotective pet parent. It took a trip to the vet to find out she had an ear infection. If only I had the instincts of an Amish farmer. They have a knack for quickly figuring out if something's wrong without overthinking it. Their ability to assess the flock's health stems from years of experience and an intuitive understanding of their animals. It's not just about knowing which chicken is which, it's about recognizing the little quirks that make each bird unique. And let's be honest, each chicken has its own personality. Some are bold and curious, while others are shy and reserved. Knowing these personalities allows Amish farmers to tailor their care and respond to changes swiftly. In contrast, many modern farms can't afford the luxury of this personal touch. With hundreds or even thousands of chickens, it's nearly impossible for farmers to give individual attention to each one. This can lead to issues going unnoticed until they escalate into more serious problems. It's like trying to manage a classroom of rowdy kids. If you don't keep an eye on the ones who are being a little too quiet, they might be the ones causing trouble. The bottom line is that the Amish approach brings a level of awareness and attentiveness that modern farming often overlooks. This personal touch doesn't just prevent disease, it builds a sense of community and trust within the flock. And when you treat your chickens like family, they tend to thrive. When it comes to chicken coops, the Amish have an ingenious approach that's as practical as it is simple. They use sand for bedding. Now, you might be thinking, sand for chickens? But it turns out this choice is a game changer. Unlike traditional bedding like straw or wood shavings, which can hold moisture and create a breeding ground for bacteria, sand stays dry. And dry is good, really good. Bacteria thrive in damp conditions, so using sand helps discourage that unwanted microbial party right in your coop. A lot of folks might not realize that chickens are pretty sensitive to their environment. A clean, dry space means happier, healthier birds, which translates to fewer health issues down the line. In fact, studies have shown that bacteria growth can be significantly lower in sand bedding compared to other materials. Who knew a little sandbox could be so effective? Cleaning up is another win for the sand bedding method. It's not like cleaning a litter box where you're stuck sifting through clumps of yuck. Instead, with sand, you can simply rake it out. It's an easy process that saves time and energy. Think of it as a beach day for the chickens minus the sunscreen. And let's be honest, even the most meticulous farmer can appreciate a quicker cleanup. Plus, chickens are natural scratchers and they love to dig around. Sand allows them to do just that, engaging in their natural behaviors while promoting better foot health. It's like giving them their own mini beach resort where they can scratch, peck, and yes, even take a dust bath. If I had to choose between a boring backyard and a sandy getaway, I know where I'd be spending my days. Using sand can also help with temperature regulation in the coop. On hot days, sand absorbs heat without becoming stifling, allowing chickens to stay cooler. And during colder months, sand can retain warmth, making it a cozy spot for the flock to huddle together. Talk about a versatile bedding option. Imagine if we all had such luxurious accommodations. I mean, I'd love to trade my bed for a sandy beach every now and then. But chickens? They deserve to feel like they're on a permanent vacation, living their best lives, all thanks to a little sand and some thoughtful care from their Amish farmers. This commitment to a healthy environment ensures that these birds thrive, making it clear that sometimes the simplest solutions can lead to the best outcomes. While the Amish way of raising chickens is impressive, it's important to acknowledge that even the best systems have their hiccups. Just like life, farming can throw curveballs that even the most seasoned farmers can't predict. There have been instances where diseases pop up in flocks despite the meticulous care Amish farmers provide. It's a reminder that nature has its own agenda, and sometimes it doesn't play by our rules. Take, for example, the occasional outbreak of avian influenza or respiratory diseases. No matter how clean the coop is or how healthy the feed, these challenges can arise. The Amish know this all too well. They accept that despite their holistic methods, there are moments when disease may strike. It's a harsh reality that every farmer has to face. This isn't some fairy tale farm where everything is perfect all the time. It's real life, with all its unpredictable quirks. When a sickness does rear its ugly head, Amish farmers have to make tough decisions. Sometimes that means isolating or even culling affected birds to protect the rest of the flock. It's like being forced to let go of your favorite sweater because it's got a stubborn stain. No one wants to do it, but it's necessary for the greater good. In a way, it reflects the Amish commitment to the health of the entire community, animal or human. The thing is, these setbacks don't cause the Amish to throw their hands up in despair. They take it as part of the learning curve that comes with farming. This resilience speaks volumes about their patience and dedication to their work. They embrace the idea that farming is a long game, one that requires constant adaptation and a willingness to face challenges head on. Just like how my grandmother used to say, even the best laid plans can go wrong. It's true in farming as well. You might think you've got everything figured out, but nature has a funny way of keeping you on your toes. It's a bit like trying to assemble IKEA furniture. You might think you understand the instructions, but somehow you end up with an extra screw and a piece that doesn't fit anywhere. At the end of the day, the Amish approach to chicken farming teaches us about patience, persistence, and the acceptance of setbacks as part of the journey. They keep pushing forward, learning from each experience and adapting their methods accordingly.